What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. We're getting back to the grind with these edge players. We've got a handful more to get through today. And then we've only got one position left. We got one position left to evaluate for the draft. And then we're done. And then we're good. I am going to do some cleanup. I'm going to go back through, find some guys I missed the first time, find some guys that maybe the Seahawks have shown interest in that I didn't cover initially, but we'll be basically done. So let's start off with a really fun one, Jalyx Hunt. Jalyx Hunt was kind of a combine stud, and I believe the Seahawks met with him. So there's some interest here with this one. Houston Christian University, so smaller school for sure. Couldn't find his age. He's got NFL size, though. 6'4", 252 pounds, 34 and 3/8 arms, 10-inch hands. Like, that's all NFL caliber stuff all day. He ran a good 40, real good 40, good 10-yard split, 1.6. That's kind of the point where you go from being a good pass rusher to potentially a great pass rusher when you have that burst to cover that first 10-yard area quickly. Big vert, monstrous broad. Not very good on the bench press, but he tested well overall as an athlete. ESPN has him in the 5th. CBS has him in like the 6th. The database has him right around the 5th or 6th. So he's currently coming in somewhere around there. Pretty much what you would expect for a guy who played at a smaller school but shows great athletic promise. He's been productive, relatively speaking. He has a lot of tackles, not a lot of sacks, like 7.5 combined over the last 2 years, but over about 110 tackles, some passes defensed, 5 forced fumbles, and pretty good PFF grades. So mixed bag. He's very new to the edge position, and that's the important thing we need to keep in mind here. I think he was playing safety when he came into the college football ranks at Cornell. So you got to understand, he just started playing edge a couple years ago. So whatever he is now, he's likely going to make massive strides forward in the coming years because he's building experience. He's got an excellent athletic profile. He's already developed some impressive pass rush moves. He's not just a speed guy or not just a power guy. No, he's got moves. He can chop you. He can swim move you. He's got stuff in his bag that is legitimate. And if you're thinking about him as a 3-4 outside linebacker who occasionally needs to drop back into his zone, he showed the ability to do that at Houston Christian. He can drop back. He can drop back into the flat. He brings that skill set to the table here. So that's just what he has right now. I think it's really important to keep in mind here that he's probably just going to build on this stuff as the years go by. So he's really, really raw is the other side of that. Understand that this is going to take a while. Jalyx Hunt is kind of like Rico Woolen in a way, right? And somehow, someway, Rico Woolen snapped his fingers and turned into a good player his rookie year pretty much immediately. He had like one bad game to start the year, and then the rest of the way he was money. So, that was obviously not something that we anticipated happening when we were looking at Jalyx Hunt. But I would expect him to take a while to feel his way out in the NFL. He gets out leveraged a lot. He doesn't sink his hips. He's going to have to learn how to play with leverage in the NFL. Played against weaker competition at Houston Christian. And he does get pushed around against the run because he's just not that strong yet. And that may be a weakness of his that persists into the rest of his career. Hard to know sometimes. There's only so much muscle you can add without losing the athleticism that makes you special. But really fun. He's got some upper level potential here. Anything that is not good about his game can get better very reasonably because he's brand new to the position. He's been playing it for 2 years, I think. So I'm all over this one. I'm a sucker for these guys. I admit it doesn't always work out, but I'd throw up a 4th rounder on this guy. You spend a 4th round pick on Jalyx Hunt, yes, there's bust potential, but I will eat that bust potential knowing that I'm getting a guy who could be special. And the only reason why he's not being viewed as such yet is because he hasn't actually done it. All right, next up we have a Husky, another Husky, Zion Tupuola-Fatu. And I don't know how to pronounce his last name because all anybody calls him around here is ZTF. I've never heard anybody use his full name. It's always ZTF, so we're going with ZTF. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Let's just stick with that. UW Husky, 24, 6'3", 244, 33 and 3/8 arms, 10 and 5/8 hands. A couple of the big boards have him going undrafted. CBS has him barely in the 7th. Database has him in the 7th, so he's a fringe draftable player. 2 straight years of okay production. Like, you're looking at, 57 tackles, 10.5 for loss, 8 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, okay PFF grades. It's not where we thought we would be, because remember, this guy had a real nice, I think it was 2020, and then in 2021 he played 3 games and had like 7 sacks or something like that. I can't remember exactly what the timeline is. It's all gotten a little bit muddled because it feels like he's been here forever. But he had that nice year several years ago, and he just never got back to that place. Now, I don't know if I would expect him to get back to that place in the NFL. Not to say there's nothing good you can say about him. He's a high-effort player. His motor never stops running. He's always given 110% out there. He's experienced handling zone coverage drops as well, which is going to be a big deal. Uses his hands well. Good hand user when fighting with offensive linemen. He plays with some discipline as well. He rarely gets too far upfield. He rarely gets caught out of position because he's overeager. He plays with discipline, so that's good. And he also showed some ability to shed blockers to get after the ball carrier. So just because you get latched onto him doesn't mean the play's over. He does show some ability to shed blockers. So there is some good stuff with ZTF, but he doesn't have the upper-level athletic abilities that you would like to see, which is why we're talking about him down here. He's not strong enough to hold up when trying to set the edge against the run. Doesn't really have that kind of a strength. Regressed significantly over the tail end of his college career. I mean, there was a time where it looked like he was going to be the next top 100 Husky pass rusher. He was going to at least be like a Kikaha, if you remember him. He went to the Saints. He might have been a round 4 pick, but he was a prospect of note. ZTF couldn't even get there. Doesn't really have good change of direction skills either. So his ability to do like man coverage, you can kind of forget about it. So didn't take off. This one just kind of died on the runway. But I think he'll be an okay part-time edge rusher in a 3-4 defense. I think the 3-4 defense will allow him to focus on just playing the edge, getting after the quarterback, and using his motor, and being able to take advantage of some of his zone cover skills. He's got a decent all-around skill set. I'd say 6th round. I'm going 6th round on ZTF. I think that's fair. I think that's fine. So, yeah, we didn't get to where we wanted to with ZTF, but he's still a reasonable player who deserves to get drafted, even if it's not by all that much. Okay, final guy for this video is going to be Braiden McGregor, another Michigan Wolverine. A lot of guys in this draft from Michigan. Braiden McGregor, one of their edge rushers last year, 23, 6'5", so he's tall. He's also a little bit bigger than usual, 257, 33 and 1/8 arms, 10-inch hands. Big boards, 5th round, 6th round, 7th round, UDFA. Aggregate has him in the 6th. Not much production at Michigan, but it's Michigan, right? They got a deep rotation. They got a lot of guys, and they're always winning games in the 4th quarter, so you can't pad your stats. So over the last 2 years, he's got 43 tackles. He's got 14 for loss. 7 sacks, 5 passes defensed. PFF grades are good. So not a bad player, but not one who's going to blow you away with the production. You're going to have to look to the tape to find desirable traits here, and you definitely can. I think that the main thing that stands out about him would be the way he uses his hands. Really good at using his hands to clear linemen out of the way. He's got a couple of effective pass rush moves that he can lean on as well. He's not necessarily got a deep bag of tricks, but he does have some things that he can do. He even has like a little bit of a spin move he can lean on. He's bigger and heavier than most guys we discuss as edge rushers, but I don't feel like he gives up that much as an athlete. So there's a little bit of potential flexibility here for him to play multiple roles on your defense. Now, the issues would be the production in college was underwhelming. He's not very strong anchoring against the run. He is going to get pushed around a little bit by bigger, stronger offensive linemen. And he doesn't really have a very good shed game. He doesn't stack and shed. Once a lineman latches on, he struggles to detach from him. And he doesn't have pass rusher bend. So he's not going to be getting the corner on offensive tackles when he's trying to beat them with speed. And again, bend is a big part of what we look for in these edge rusher guys. So I think that he'll end up being in the NFL, but I don't think he'll be able to do much more than come off the bench on passing downs. And it's not even like he's going to be a great passing down edge rusher. He'll be okay because he has a couple nice moves and he's good with his hands and he's a decent athlete. But he doesn't have bend and he doesn't have like superstar first step quickness or anything like that. So 6th round pick, I think he'll end up on special teams more than he will defensively, honestly. Not a bad player, but I think the bump in talent going from NCAA to the NFL is just going to be tough for him to overcome. But you can get him as a special teamer who offers a little bit on defense. All right, so that's it for this one. Couple more videos of edge guys to go. Let me know what you think, if anything. I know we're starting to get to the bottom of the barrel here, but that doesn't mean these guys won't be Seahawks, and it doesn't mean they won't be good players. I'll talk to you guys later. Go Hawks. See you guys soon.